bottom right. I see some questions coming in. I saw my name in there. I'll try to go back there in a second, but please go ahead. Don't be shy. We'll grab questions as we go along. We're going to drop some links and some info in there too as we go along. So please keep an eye out. And if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to do our best to grab questions from that chat too. So again, don't be shy. Drop your questions in, and we're going to do our best to answer all of them. For everyone joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you want to switch into speaker view on your top right, that's probably the best viewing experience for you. Also, if there's any sessions you want to rewatch, including the one a couple weeks ago, we had Stacy Small and Jenny Cagle here to talk about destinations. That session's up on our YouTube channel on demand and on our training page. You can watch it on demand. There's lots on that page, including the rest of the episodes of this series going back into 2020. Also on there is our check-in podcast, and we actually just launched the latest episode, which was with Marriott's Brian King, if you want to have a listen. Brian, it was a great conversation. He heads up Marriott's Latin America and Caribbean divisions, and he's got a really interesting story. In the episode, he talks about how he got his start at Marriott's Great Adventure theme park in the Midwest when he was a teenager, and that position eventually blossomed into a 30-year career at Marriott. So it was a great conversation. Other guests we've had on there include New York City and Company, Betsy O'Rourke, Scott Kemp, and a lot more. I know everyone's back to traveling now, so if you do have some time to kill, you can go ahead and listen on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's on most platforms. You just have to search Check In by TMR. Okay. So today, I'm very happy to welcome Kristen Perry, the owner of Alabama's Classic Travel Connection. Kristen's here to talk about her experience adopting service fees over the last 8 months. She's here to answer your questions and give her take on how advisors who have yet to do it can start on the path to adopting the fees. This is the third time she's joined us, and I want to say first, thank you for coming back and lending us your time and joining us here today, Kristen.
Thank you for having me again. I love being on and love helping other advisors as much as I can. So I am happy to be here and appreciate the opportunity.
So today is a pretty hot topic for us. We know there's a lot of interest in service fees, especially coming out of COVID. And I know a lot of advisors consider them over the past year or so. And we titled this session Conquering Fear of Fees. And that's what I want to get into first. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about your business model pre-COVID, pre-adopting fees, and then what got you on the path to thinking about adopting fees as part of your business.
So prior to COVID, our agency model was basically, much like everyone else's. Yes, our services are free to you and we're available to you, and we will, do anything you ask, for free, and basically just marketing ourselves that way. And we're free. We work for free. So we didn't charge fees unless sometimes there was the opportunity within a tour operator to maybe add a $50 fee here and there, or something like that, if that was a possibility. And so we were doing that at times, not frequently, but no, prior to this, we did not have a fee structure.
So how long were you considering sort of putting fees in? What made it unattractive to you? And then what were your biggest concerns with installing something like this into your business?
Well, first of all, it takes a lot of time to decide and figure out and how you're going to implement them. I think that you can't just one day say, I'm going to charge fees and we're going to be ready to go tomorrow. Yep. So it's a process, and it's doing a lot of self-evaluation, agency evaluation, client evaluation, knowing what you can and can't do in that process. But so it's time consuming. And one of the things that we had the opportunity to do during COVID was to scale our businesses and to make changes where things that we may have been wanting to do for a really long time and didn't have the opportunity. It was the perfect time to do, to study and to figure out, what changes you want to make. And then obviously, we took a hit. We all took a huge financial hit. And here we are counting on a certain amount of income over the next several years based on booked clients that all of a sudden just went away. And so I didn't want to lose my business, and I did not want to be in the same place where I was in April of last year. So that was my motivation, I suppose.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's a topic of discussion now within the trade. Asta pointed it out that the recovery is well underway. We know a lot of advisors are getting interest from clients, but there is an 8-month or so gap between when you're going to get a booking and when you're going to get paid, just the nature of the payment structures. And until that changes, it seems like fees a good way to get some revenue coming into your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as what my biggest fears were in implementing fees, I think it's probably everybody's biggest fear. I'm going to lose clients.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my business, from past clients, or I'm not going to have new clients. And so that absolutely 100% was my biggest fear in beginning to implement fees.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of advisors who share that fear too. And we're going to talk about that a little later in the session, how you got over those fears. And for anyone who wants to, we spoke about that specifically with a couple of advisors on this series last summer. So we have a link to that session too that we'll drop in there. But I want to ask you, Kristen, you spoke about it was difficult getting educated on this because it was a new practice for you and your business. And I'm wondering, what was the education process like for you? And can you share some of the wisdom you have from that process to help advisors out now?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said before, it wasn't just a quick decision, and I don't think it's something that you can just put together in a short time. So about this time last summer, I put together a team within our team. So Classic Travel Connection is a team of 30 advisors. And so I kind of got a cross section of different advisors within our team that sell different types of vacations, probably different amounts of revenue that they produce, and that have different varying views on fees as well. So it was a team of 5 of us, and we committed to meet weekly on Zoom, because obviously that's how we met forever. And we would meet weekly, and we would brainstorm about fees. We would talk about different ways of implementing. We would do also, we would take courses on fees. In fact, we took the Maestro series class, which was absolutely an integral part of helping us to begin to implement them. And that's that's Bob Jocelyn. He does a course on the Maestro series, and it's just 3 sessions. And I'll tell you later the return of the investment that we had on that particular, that particular amount that we spent on that course. But so we would just do different courses. We would watch the Master Series with Tiffany and Jamie, and talk about them. So we would have meetings after these meetings, and we would talk about it and just brainstorm and think about, okay, how can we do this? How can we make that work for our business model? So that's pretty much what we did. And we met all the way till the end of, I want to say maybe first or second week of month of this year. So a good 6 months.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for the plugs too to the past sessions, which we've dropped a couple links in the chat for the past sessions. And you mentioned the Maestro series too with Bob Jocelyn, which is a pay-for series for TMR, but we'll drop the link in the chat as well in case anyone is interested. One thing I want to ask you about, you mentioned the team at Classic, and some of your advisors, they had differing views on fees. I was curious, could you tell us a little bit about the differing views? Because I know there's a lot of people on the call who are going to share those same views.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people, and some of them are actually on the Zoom today, but some of them were very much, hey, I'm ready to do this. I've been doing this, and I'm very comfortable with it and confident and ready to move forward. And some had reservations and same fears. I'm going to lose my clients, and some are like, even though part of that team, they definitely see the value in implementing a fee for our services, but also did not feel that at this time it's the right thing for them to do for their specific business model. So just going back and forth, playing the devil's advocate and saying, yeah, but this, or maybe you should do it this way. And so it was good to have a lot of differing opinions on the same topic, and to be able to put something in place that we could all live with.
Yeah, that is interesting too, because there are so many different business models in the travel trade. And I know there's some advisors, and I've had some advisors on this series, when I've asked them if they charge fees, they said no and they never would. But I think opinions have changed over the last year, like we talked about with the revenue. And even, yeah, Mitch says in the comments, he says, if not now, when are you going to start? Exactly. I think, COVID has sort of sped up a lot of changes in the industry, and fees is definitely one of them.
And I think something important that we did is we set a time for when we were going to start. Like, this is how long we're going to study this, and this is the day we start. And just having a goal and a date that we knew that was going to happen was helpful.
I'm curious, before I want to ask you about your actual fee structure, because I know there's a lot of advisors who want to know about that, but you spoke about the date you were going to start charging fees. What were you feeling in the lead up to that day? Were you nervous? I mean, this is a big decision for your business, and were you nervous? Did you have a lot of butterflies going into that day?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you the truth. I mean, I still have butterflies every time I'm about to say anything about the fee when I have my discovery calls with my clients, as do the advisors that have implemented our fees in the agency. I mean, I think my daughter, actually, she's working with me now, and she said, make sure and tell them that I vomit those words every time I say them. It's not an easy thing to do, but you just, every time you do it, you get more and more used to it, and you grow more and more confident as you present your fees. But it's always, you get that lump in your throat, you get that little feeling in your stomach, and it's a little bit of a scary feeling. But then once you do it, you're like, I did it, and it's great, and it's amazing.
Yeah. So Mitch, this might be something we're going to cover in a bit, but let's go ahead and tackle this question. He wants to know, how did you tell your existing clients about the new fees? And this might be something we'll touch on a little later, but yeah. So I mean, I want to get into the fee structure again, but let's talk about it. Let's dive into the conversation. So I know you have a lot of regular clients, and I'm curious how you approach them about the fees. I want to know, was it something you sent them at the beginning of when you were going to start charging fees, or did you only send it to them when they were inquiring about a booking?
So no, I didn't make any big announcement like, this is how we're going to do things from here, here forward, or anything like that, and didn't put a big announcement on our website or on our Facebook or anything like that. Basically, it's just a one-on-one conversation, and I just tell our clients, a lot of things have changed in travel in the last year and a half, and so we have had to make some changes to our agency and to our business model, and this is something that we're doing now, that's different than what we've done before. And I'm happy to answer any questions about it. And usually I don't have any questions. I had the conversation with somebody yesterday who I planned their honeymoon 2 years ago and wanted to go to Vegas. And I just said, hey, in previous years, we didn't have this in place, and we do now. Before we move forward, I just want to make sure that's okay with you and that you're comfortable with that. And she goes, oh yeah, that's fine. And so we move forward, and it was great. So it's just being upfront in the conversation and telling them why you're doing it, and that we've all had to change our business models, not just the travel industry. People understand, and if they're in business, they've had some changes too.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I know we've spoke about it twice already, but if anyone's having difficulty with that kind of discussion amongst themselves, the Jamie Jones and Tiffany Hines, that was something I asked them too, and they were very confident about their fee structures. They've been doing it for a number of years, and if anyone wants more, those two videos are on our YouTube page. And I'm curious, everyone in the chat, if you want to let us know in the chat if you charge fees or if you don't charge fees. I'm just curious to take the temperature of the room right now, because it does seem like it's a common thing, but also I know there's a lot of advisors who are looking for information on how to start this process now.
I think a lot of people are what I call flirting with fees. Like, they want to, they're not sure how, they know that they need to. And if they haven't already started, then I feel like they're flirting with it and they want to, on the fence, but not feeling confident to just, make the move. And that's what I hear a lot from advisors.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of advisors who are starting to or considering it, a lot of advisors who've been doing it for years, a lot of advisors who are trying to build it into the cost of the trip, things like that. So again, it's not going to be a one size fit all. I've said that at a number of these sessions, but I do want to talk about your fee structure, Kristen, because I think
Yeah,
it's going to
absolutely.
be a good jumping off point. And Jason, I know our meetings person's on. Can we get the slide of Kristen's fee structure up on the screen?
So I saw a couple of questions too as to what we call our fee, and this is something that our team decided together to call it. So we call our fees, we call them a research and design fee, and our fees are paid upfront before we will send a proposal to a client. So they're paid upfront and they are non-refundable, and the client's very clear about that. And so it's not a plan to go fee that is, absorbed by the cost at final payment or anything like that. It's definitely a pay before the planning begins. And we call it a research and design fee. And this is just a basic guideline. And we don't, this is not something that is set in stone. We have some ability to be flexible in here, but just to give,
Kristen, sorry. So how long, just so people know it's not set in stone, how long has this been in part of your business? How long have you been charging fees for?
Since the beginning of this year.
Okay.
January of 2021. So basically we just said, anybody that just wants domestic flights, 50 per person. Domestic travel, because obviously we're seeing so much of that now, out west and that kind of thing. So anywhere from 100 to 150 to 500 per reservation. Hawaii, I start mine at 250. If it's a Disney ticket only, then 100. So we just have a basic guideline, and I sometimes will, when I'm in the discovery call and I see how complicated or simple this particular vacation is going to be to plan, at that point I decide what it is that I'm going to that I go to present to the client, if that makes sense. So the other thing that I started doing that I'd never done before is destination weddings. I mean, gosh, you're working so hard. So started charging a fee to the wedding couple, starting at 500. And again, just depending on, and I feel like that's a very low, a low fee. But yeah, we call them research and design fees, and they are prepaid before we present a proposal to a client, but after we have that discovery call with the client, so that we have that time to get to know them, for them to feel confident in us as their travel advisor, for them to see that we are the experts, and that we are going to provide them with an exceptional customer service experience. So, I make sure that they understand what they're going to get from working with me and from paying that fee. And I'm telling you, I've had very little pushback from it, very little.
Let me ask you. So we have a couple questions about your decisions when you were coming up with those numbers, and I don't want to ask about anything specific, but what was your process for landing on that fee number for each of those segments?
That's a great question, and that was just something that our team of 5 came together and just, some people may feel comfortable in the whole team of 30 people. Some people may feel comfortable saying, I'm going to start with a $500 fee. And some people may have felt more comfortable saying, I'm going to start with 100 or 150. And it it was just what we decided based on our business model, based on the types of vacations that we sell, and our processes. So I wouldn't say it was any kind of big science or anything like that. It was just what we decided as our small group team to do.
Yeah. And so what is your attitude now with that fee structure? Is it a process for you now as you continue to implement it? Are you looking to adjust the fees as you go along?
I personally probably will adjust the fees as I go along, because, I have a big book of business, and I sell a lot of travel. And so I think that as I'm still continuing to sell and to be an owner, then I want to be very intentional about who I work with. So yes, I will probably adjust my fee structure so that I'm working with the type client that I want to work with. And but we won't necessarily change the fee structure for the whole agency. Does that make sense? Because I want something that every person feels comfortable if they decide to implement fees.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I see we have a ton of questions coming into the chat now. A couple of people asking about the fee structure, which we'll have this video uploaded tomorrow, so you'll be able to see it again.
And the thing I would say about the fee structure, you have to come up with your own based on who you are and what you sell and what your revenue is as far as booked revenue. And I think that you can't take someone else's and just make it yours, because it has to be personalized to your agency and to your type of business. So, I mean, that's just a guideline and anyone's welcome to use it. But I mean, you have to do the research and take the time to decide for yourself what you're going to do for yourself.
Yeah, I know the clientele is a big part of that too, knowing what your clients are comfortable with.
I mean, I would feel comfortable. I mean, if you're not confident, you're not ready, start with $30. I mean, I think that's what Bob Jocelyn says on one of the videos, like just start with $30.
Yeah.
And then once you start feeling that confident, then move it up a bit.
Yeah. I think that is great advice. So let me grab a couple questions from the chat, because I see a lot are coming in. Again, if anyone has any other questions as we go along, please drop them in there. I'm going to do my best. It is a quick chat today.
And Jason, if you'll show the letter, I can talk a little bit about that process. I think I saw someone ask specifically about the process, and I'll just tell you quickly how that works for us. So if a client contacts me and says, whether it be on Facebook or email or wherever, and says, we're ready to plan a vacation, can you help us? And so I have an email that I have pre-written that basically I can customize and personalize to that client. So if they ask me about Hawaii, then that first paragraph is going to be all about, I am so excited about your Hawaiian vacation. I've been there X amount of times and I love it. And one of my favorite things to do is, and so I let them know right away that I'm an expert in Hawaii and I am excited about their vacation and passionate, and I'm so looking forward to working with them. So I customize that first paragraph, and then moving down a little bit, I let them know that they need me. I am an expert, and planning a vacation is difficult, especially in today's environment. And I let them know that they have a problem, and planning a vacation is their problem. It's difficult, but that I can solve that problem. And then I tell them all the things I'm going to do. And then I tell them we're going to set up a discovery call that's complimentary. And before we do that, if you look just above what to expect next, our research and design menu begins at $150. So if they get all the way down and they schedule a discovery call with me, they've already seen that there's going to be a fee. And so they're ready to talk about it. And I'll tell them everything they need to know about that fee during our consultation. And then they schedule a meeting with me, and I spend 45 minutes to an hour getting to know them and talking about their potential vacation. So if you want to stop sharing, that's fine.
Yeah, that line about your vacation as an investment, not only of money, but of time, I think is a great way to talk about it too. Not only talk about why they're paying the fee, but talk about why they're even using a travel advisor to book the trip.
Right. And I think that it's just important to be confident in that, hey, I'm the solution to your problem, and I'm going to do an amazing job for you. And you're going to be so glad that you hired me to do this, to plan your vacation. And so that's what I tell people all the time is, you're going to be so glad that you chose to hire me. You're going to love. And, it's sometimes, like I said, it's hard conversations to have, but the more often you have them, the more confident you become.
So that's what a lot of the questions are in the chat have come about is those difficult conversations that you're having. Do you have a strategy for when you do get pushback, if pushback comes at all, or you do get questions about why they're paying this extra fee, especially from your old clients? What is your philosophy on that? How do you handle those difficult conversations?
So I had one, I just decided I have to set the boundary, and I have to, if this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do every time. And that being said, I have waived the fee, and I know we're going to talk about that later. But this is what I do now. And so I have had a couple of people that after the discovery call, I'll follow back up and say, are you, and I'll even send the invoice where they see the invoice for the research and design fee, and they have to check and approve, sign that, they understand that it's non-refundable. So I'll follow up and go, hey, making sure you got the invoice. Do you have any questions? I'm happy to answer. And then I've gotten a few that'll say, we decided to do something else. And I'm like, that's great, because that's a ton of time that I didn't spend with you on a vacation that you're probably not going to take. And so, so I have had a couple of those. I've also had a few where they were like, well, I've just never paid a fee before. And I say, I understand that. And I said, but, this is how we do our business now. And this is what I'm doing. And I mean, that's when I say, you're not going to be sorry. Like, I promise you, I am confident that I am going to be able to find the vacation. Because one of the questions was, well, my budget's 7,000. What if you give me something that's 12? And I said, I'm not going to do that to you. I would never do that to you. I said, I'm confident that I'm going to be able to find what you need, and you're going to be happy with the proposals. And if you're not, we're going to tweak them and get them to where you want them to be. So you can be confident that I'm not going to, blow your budget out of the water. Yeah. And they'll come back and they'll say, okay, well, this one couple, well, what about this resort and this resort? And I, at that point, I just said, if you're ready to hire me and you want me to go ahead and start your proposals, I'm happy to do so, but I'm going to have to send you the service agreement first. And she's like, okay, yes, we're ready. They knew that I wasn't going to give them information before they did that. And they have an amazing Hawaiian vacation that they're taking next March. So it's good.
So just on that note, we have a comment in the chat and from a guest attendee, and they said it gets easier to have the conversation the more often you do it. And it feels great when they pay the fee. It also feels great if they don't, because you realize they were shoppers and you would have wasted your time on the booking. And I assume that's your experience too.
I have not ever been sad when somebody didn't pay the fee. I mean, I'm just like, there's, for every one that doesn't, there's 9 that do, Yeah.
And we have a couple of comments about how they even love the term discovery call too, which is, it's good. It's a good choice of words, I think.
And again, that was just something that we came up with in our little task force meeting. So. Yeah.
So let me ask you about the process now with your clients. And I'm curious, I asked this to a bunch of advisors who have spoken to me about fees. Is there ever a situation where you would waive the fee? And is there ever a situation where you would alter the fee or bring it down or reduce it in any way?
Yeah, there is. And sometimes if I'm having a conversation with a couple and I just realize, you know what, we're going to do everything we can just to make the budget that they need it to be. And so there are times where I'm like, I'm going to help this person out and we're just going to move forward. And I tell them, and I do say, normally I charge a fee, and I said, but I'm going to waive it for you because I, for whatever reason, because I, and then I just say, but I want the commitment from you that you're going to work with me and that we're going to move forward in this process together. So we do absolutely sometimes waive the fee. I have found there's a couple of times where I've waived it and not even mentioned it, especially when I was first starting. And those are the people that drop off the face of the earth and never book. And so I'm just like, I'm not doing that anymore, just because I have found success in doing it. I had one yesterday, great friend of mine, and he calls me at 8:15 and he wants to leave for Turks and Caicos on Monday, like this coming Monday, and to take his wife on their 30th wedding anniversary. And again, I was like, Brandon, are you kidding me? Come on. And so I just hurried up and sent him 3 proposals, and he was like, oh, I love these. But I just found out that my passport's expired, and I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I'm always disappointed in myself when I don't charge the fee.
Yeah, he's what I found for that kind of stuff is Google Calendar is a great way to organize birthdays and anniversaries and things like that, for anyone wondering. But we have more comments, and I want to go through a couple of them too, because I know this confidence when speaking to clients is a big issue for a lot of advisors with the fee. And Steve Phillips says it's important to a business owner to realize that not everyone is your customer, and it's okay to admit that. It is imperative. It is how brands like Nordstrom and Mercedes have grown such amazing loyalty. And that's a lot of what Jamie and Tiffany in our previous sessions on fees spoke about too, is that you're going to have clients and you're going to have people who want your services who aren't your clients. And it's important to differentiate between those two. And it's important to realize that. And hopefully somebody on the TMR team can drop those links back into the chat, because I know there's a couple of people looking out for them.
And it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I don't do that. And I've had a couple where I've just said, if I do that for you, I'm going to have to charge you $100 fee or $200. And it's going to be best for you just to go do that on
Yeah.
your own. And I don't feel bad about it anymore. I used to be so, obsessed with making sure I was taking care of everybody, but you don't have to take care of everyone.
Yeah, and I think realizing that it is becoming more common in the industry, and that you aren't putting yourself out on a ledge by charging a fee anymore. I mean, we have so many advisors in the chat right now, it's just incredibly difficult even to keep up with it, about speaking about their experiences with fees. And I see another one who said that Kelly Bishop said she asked a client for $200 and he said she was selling herself short. And she said, I asked him what he thought would be fair and he wrote her a check for $200. So I mean, especially this thing about repeat clients, the ones who have booked you before, if you're a good travel advisor, which I know most of the people on the call are, they realize how valuable you are to their vacation and to their investment. So I think that's always important to remember. So I want to ask you, because and then I want to get to more questions. It's been since January you've been charging a fee, and I'm curious, for the people who might still be on the fence on the call, could you quantify the success of your implementation of fees for us?
I can. So obviously it's independent contractors who work in our on our team are not required to charge a fee. If they want to, they can, and we make it easy for them, and we help with the processing of the fees and that type thing. I also have on our team, and within our team, we have 7 full-time employees that work in the office, and those we can say you're going to charge a fee, and it was hard at first, and I have a couple of rock stars that are just knocking it out of the water, but since January of 2021 we have brought in $56,335 in fees.
Oh,
So, and that includes our wedding groups, that includes our incentive groups, that includes our FITs, everything. And that is it's a group effort. It's not just one person. So we have, we've, and then that's a handful of independent contractors who also have bought into it.
yeah. I'm curious. I know your agency. You've talked about the employees, and I don't want to get into revenue or anything like that, but I want to ask you how crucial was that money to that kind of revenue to the business, especially now when commissions aren't the easiest thing to come upon?
So right now, for me, my thought on that is this is something that we can take and put in our escrow, so that if we have a situation like what we've had over the last year and a half, that we won't ever be in a situation where someone's not getting paid, or where you have to make tough decisions as a business, or that you even go under, so I feel like it's for us, it's a security blanket that hopefully, as we move forward in the next year or two, it will be something that we can all profit from as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that makes sense. That makes good sense, and especially, yeah, again, the travel industry isn't the only industry that has changed in COVID, and people realize that things are changing in travel too. And I'm just reading the comments again, just trying to keep track of everything. So we have a question, and I'm not sure if this is proprietary information, Kristen, but I'm going to ask it. Mitch wants to know about how you're approaching fees with your employees versus with your ICs. Is there any revenue sharing, or is it completely different?
So when our independent contractors process their fees through the agency, obviously there's going to, there's that 4%, and that just automatically comes out. That's nothing, we can't help that. And then from there, I'm not trying to profit from anyone's service fees. That's not my goal. My goal is to help our team succeed in that way, if that's what they choose to do. So we take 10% and pay 90% of the fees that come in from independent contractors, and that's really just to pay people who do our payroll, to that kind of thing, people who are processing those payments. So it just takes care of the admin work, and so we pay 90% on our fees.
Yeah. And so I'm just scrolling through the chat. And again, if anyone has specific questions for Kristen, please drop them in there and we're going to get to them. We have a lot of these questions seem to go back to being nervous about telling your clients about the fees. We had a question come in during registration that it was about an advisor who had gotten a couple bad online reviews after telling old clients that they're going to start charging fees. Aside from what we've spoken about, because I know we've spoken about this at length, is there anything else, any other advice you can share, Kristen, about not only having those conversations, so the actual words you use with your clients, but also dealing with the nerves going into this kind of stuff?
I think before every discovery call, I have to tell myself, remember what you're going to do. Remember that when you get to this point in the conversation, this is when you're going to bring up fees. And so in the discovery call, like I said, they've already seen it in my letter. So it's not the first time, it's not a surprise to them that there's going to be a conversation about the research and design fee. And so it's an easy way to bring it up after we've talked about everything that's going to be so amazing about their vacation and about how many ideas I have. And I'm so excited because I have a certain hotel in mind already, so I very much let them know, like, I've got you, and I'm going to take care of you. And then I'll just say at the end of that conversation, I'm sure that you saw at the end of the letter prior to you making this appointment with me that we have a research and design fee that we charge before we begin creating your proposals. And I've never had anybody go, what? They saw it. It's the very last thing you read before you make your appointment with me. And so that's how I bring it up. And I said, do you have any questions about the research and design fee that I can answer for you? And then sometimes they'll have a question here or there, and I explain it and I explain how it works. And because sometimes they'll say, so that goes as a part of the trip. And I say, no, it's actually paid before, and it's a non-refundable fee, and it's on top of what your vacation is going to be. And a lot of times I tell them, I said, but it's a bargain. I said, the work that I'm going to do for you is so much worth more than what this fee is. And many times I'm going to be able to find you perks and amenities and or discounts that are going to far outweigh this fee. So I let them know that, it's worth it.
Yeah. We have a question about going back to the fee sheet, the fee menu. I'm trying to, again, the comments are coming in, so it's just scrolling past my eyes, but somebody wanted to know, has there been an easier fee to implement? Was there a more difficult fee to implement in terms of, one, talking to clients, and two, even finding a value for what you should charge for that specific kind of vacation?
As in, like, was Hawaii different than
What was it difficult to quantify what you should charge for Hawaii, what you should charge for a cruise or FIT or things like that?
For me, it's not very difficult. And like I said, after I've had the conversation and after I've spoken with this potential client for 30 minutes, I have a pretty good idea. I've been doing this long enough that I know how much time this is going to take. And you also have a pretty good idea of how high maintenance that person is going to be. Or low maintenance. And so for me, it's just an easy, quick decision. And sometimes I'll say, and even in the letter, if it's a certain kind of vacation and I know that it's going to be like a European vacation where they're going to 3 different countries, or Hawaii where we're doing several different islands, I change that amount from 150 and I started at 250 or 300. So I have some flexibility there, and that's how. But no, it's not difficult for me to decide on the fee.
And is the first time the clients are encountering, like, you put the research and design fee on the letter and it says starts at 150, but is the first time their clients are encountering the full fee that they'll have to pay when you give them their final proposal?
No, they pay before I will even start working on a proposal.
Okay.
Yeah. So I send an invoice, and when they submit their payment, then I start working on proposals for them.
Okay.
But I mean, again, we're all different, and there may be other people on my team that do something completely different, and that's fine. And there's people on my team that don't do it at all, and that's fine as well. But that's just how I do it, and it works for me. Yep. So I think you just have to find what works for you.
So we have one question. I'm going to get you a couple more questions, then just a couple more after that I have to wrap it up. Melinda wants to know if you have a monthly goal for fees. Like, do you expect to have X amount of revenue per month for fees? or is it again, you're only 6 months into it? Is it still earlier in the game for you?
I don't have a specific goal for fees quite yet. I mean, like I said, we're just 5-6 months into this, so probably as we go along, and as our clients continue to just come in, then yeah, I would set a goal for fees just like I set a goal for revenue every month as well.
And we have a question from Susan, who wants to know, what about prior clients to book with you but know exactly what they want? Yeah, I mean, I guess it just comes down to what you spoke about before, Kristen, is that you're going to take it situation by situation and case by case, correct?
Yeah, I will. And for the most part, like I said, I mean, I have very few times where I've waived the fee, and more times that I've not waived the fee, and been successful. So even with people who want something super easy, like an all-inclusive in Jamaica, or
Mhm.
I still charge the fee. I mean, it's more than just a click and book. And we provide much more than just booking a reservation and sending an invoice to a client.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so there's a couple questions I want to ask. We'll have some time after to get to any more questions in the chat. I see it continues to scroll, so I know there's a lot of interest in this. But the first thing I want to ask is, it's been almost 6 months. We're in the 6th month of this new experience for you. Was there any mistakes you made or any regrets that you have during the process, whether it be the education process or the implementation process, that if you could go back, you would do it differently?
The education process, I felt great about it. I mean, I loved having the different opinions from different people in our team, and I feel like we had a great cross section of thoughts and feedbacks on the subject of fees. And so I loved that part of it, and I loved getting together with in a small group of our team every week and just being able to talk about these things. So I don't have a lot of regrets about that portion of it. We had a couple of like friends and colleagues of mine who I invited, who I knew already had implemented fees in their business. They came and talked to our small group, and we were able to ask questions of them, and they were so obviously giving and helpful, and even followed back up and said, have you started yet? Things like that. So it was a great process. I do believe, coming to rolling them out. My only regret are the times where I didn't charge the fee,
Yeah.
and either I got run in the ground or they just didn't book.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that too. I mean, do you regret not starting earlier? Is that something you think about?
Heck yes. I 100%. I was like, if I would have known how not easy, but just it's easier than you think. It's just getting used to the idea, and hey, getting on this Zoom by yourself, like turning on your camera and just talking, like giving your spiel and talking and saying the words that you want to say. Use the word confident a lot. Use the word you know passionate. Use whatever your words are to communicate to your clients. But get on and practice, or get on with another advisor and role play. And I think that's super important. But yeah, I do regret not starting earlier. We'd have a different life.
One thing I want to add is, I mean, I think a couple of people came on a little late, so they haven't seen it, but just scroll up in the chat and you'll see how many advisors on the call right now. We have 180 advisors on, and more than half who responded in the chat said they do charge fees. So I see a lot of questions about worrying about competition when there's an advisor who might not charge a fee and trying to attract your business. It's not uncommon to charge a fee. And I mean, do you want to comment on that, Kristen? I mean, we had someone, again, I can't keep track of the chat today, but we had someone talk about fears of losing business to another advisor who brags about not charging fees, who advertises that they don't charge fees. Is that something you have to deal with?
I'm not worried about it. I mean, if somebody else if they want to go work with someone else, and that's fine. And I'm going to take very good care of the ones that I work with, and I'll get the repeat business over and over again. So, and I feel good about that. But not everybody is for you. And, not everyone is your client. And I think you just have to realize that. And if they go work with someone else, there's going to be someone else who wants to work with you and who is willing to pay the fee and who's going to be a great client. So I don't worry about if someone's going to go to someone else and who doesn't charge a fee.
Yeah. And again, I wanna drop the links to the previous two sessions we did on fees, and that's something we spoke about at length, both of those sessions too. If you're looking for more information about fees or more information about having that conversation with your clients and having those internal battles with yourself, we have 2 full hours that they just went into the chat now that you can watch, and hopefully those will help you as well. And I want to ask my final question. Then I have a couple of questions from the chat that I grabbed that we'll get to, and then we'll wrap up today. But my question is for the advisors in the call, on the call right now who do not charge fees and who are anxious to start charging fees. Can you give them a first step to take today or this weekend to start of kick off that education process, or a first step to definitively move down the road to start implementing fees?
Yes, I would say set the goal of the date you're going to do it, and then work towards that goal. Take the action steps that you need to take to get to that goal, and decide, make your plan. Just make your plan. On this date, I'm going to watch this particular training. On this day, I'm going to sign up for the Master Series. Literally, it was $99. I'm $99 to sign up for, multiple courses, not just that one about fees. And then in the end, 6 months later, we've more than multiplied that. So it's totally worth it to do the research and to do the study and to take the classes and to listen to as much as you can and to, ask as many opinions as you can. I also reached out to clients, and to past clients, really great clients, and clients of some of my team. And I said, if we started implementing fees, would you pay? And they're like, for sure. Get testimonials from clients. And so, yeah, I would say decide the date you're going to start and do the things that you need to do to get there.
Okay. So let me grab a couple last questions, and maybe we might have time for one more. So again, I know there's a lot of questions coming in, but I'm going to do my best to grab another one. But Kristen wants to know if you have a best quote unquote line, or I guess a best word choice to use to help a client overcome their apprehension about your fee structure.
I guess it's the whole conversation is not necessarily the one line,
Yeah.
but I let them know how excited I am to be working with them and how I can't wait to get their proposals to them and see what they think about them, and let them know that I already have ideas for them. And I tell them, you're going to be so glad you hired me. There's so many things about traveling now that that could go wrong. And I'm going to help you maneuver through all of those things. And I'm going to help you every step of the way and help you make decisions that are best for you and your family regarding your vacation. And so, you have to let them know that, and if it's not COVID anymore, let's pretend like we don't have COVID and we don't have all of these crazy requirements and protocols for each and every, destination in the whole wide world that we have had to learn and know. Then it's going to be that there's 1,000 room categories, and then their problem is going to be, I know it's hard to decide what you want when there's so many options out there for you. I'm going to help you narrow those options down because I've been to these places and I know them, and now that I've gotten to know you and what you love and what you want, I'm going to be able to find the perfect place for you. I use the word perfect a lot. I use the word confident a lot. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, and we have, I hope it helps. One more, well, I want to also touch on that too, because I spoke to consortia heads this week about the cruise line rules, and it's going to be extremely difficult for consumer to place themselves on the correct cruise in the correct category and with the correct protocols and vaccination requirements and things like that. Like, travel's only getting more complicated. And I think that's important for everybody to know too, coming out of COVID.
Absolutely. And I used to say we didn't have to be rocket scientists to do this job, but we do. If you think about all the things that you have to have in your brain right now,
yeah,
it's a lot.
Yep. And we have a comment from Jenny, who says she spent as much money on travel education, if not more, than her college education, and she says she deserves to be compensated for her expertise, as I am, as I've charged fees for years. But again, it's having that question in your mind about, am I worth this fee? I mean, you're not just pressing a button, and they're not just paying for a booking; they're paying for your years of expertise.
Right, right.
All right. So I want to give you a chance to wrap up, Kristen, and add anything you want to add. One last question came in from Jen, and I don't know if we kind of went over this already, but she says she works with a complex niche, which is Disney vacations, and she says her competition brags that they are fee free. How do you justify? And I wanted to ask that because you did have Disney up there on your fee sheet.
So Disney's a difficult topic, and it is hard because Disney planners are a dime a dozen, and everybody is a Disney planner. Our team are truly expert Disney planners. They do a great job. They are amazing, and so it is hard for someone who it is their profession, it is their job, to compete with the girl next door who does it when her kids are napping. So, and not that that's a bad thing. It's a totally different business model, but it is. The Disney one is difficult to deal with, and we have not come up with a fee that works for our Disney advisors, except for when it is a ticket only, when they have purchased their Disney vacation some other way, or they're staying in a home, or they're staying in a timeshare or whatever. At that point, then we'll say, if you want us to do your ticket purchases and plan your itinerary, then it's $100 fee. And and a lot of times they'll take us up on it. So.
Yeah, and I know even we spoke about cruises, but even those vacations are becoming more complicated. I know there's rules going in all the time, rules being pulled out all the time for Disney. So again, it's certainly pays to be able to have someone you can lean on. I see a couple questions about the fee structure. We'll have this video up on our YouTube page by tomorrow morning, so you can go back and replay what we spoke about earlier. We covered everything about the fee structure. And again, if you're looking for more information, we've dropped the links to the 2 other sessions we did on fees in the chat, and we dropped the links to the My Show series as well. But the last thing I want to say is, Kristen, again, I know this is your 3rd time speaking to the group, and I want to say thank you so much, because you've certainly given us a lot to think about today and in the previous sessions too. And I really can't thank you enough for joining me. I always really enjoy talking to you.
You were very sweet. I enjoy talking to you too, and it was great. And I like talking about all things travel. So, and if anything I said can help anyone, then that's awesome. It's a sensitive topic. It's not for everyone. And if you're not comfortable with it, then keep doing what you're doing and be confident in what you are doing. And that's fine too. We don't all have to be doing the same thing. And if you are confident and you're ready to start, then pick your date and go for it.
And again, if anyone wants to rewatch this, TMR travelmarketreport.com on the trading page, or youtube.com/travelmarketreport. Everything's there. Please subscribe. And again, thank you so much, Kristen. Thanks for everyone for joining me today. And I hope to see you all back here in a couple weeks.
Bye. Thank y'all.
Bye.